Okay, stand by and have a little sip. You want a sip before you start?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, everyone, welcome to the wild and exotic adventures of a wasp. I'm here with Don Anderson. I'm son Steve. We're going to tell some stories here. And I think the first one is going to be about our Uncle Bud's pool. How can you set this up?
Well, I think it's a funny story. It's a family story. It helps a little bit to know about the personalities involved. But my wife, your mother, had a very favorite aunt and uncle, Uncle Bud and Aunt Mame. They lived up in Irondequoit. And Pat had some other uncles who were a little bit not off the straight and narrow. They were always a little bit suspect, you know. They some of them probably drank too much and got in trouble, but they were good people, but they were not of the straight and narrow. That's the best way to say it. So and Grandin, Uncle Grandin, was staying for a while at Mamie and Bud's house.
Mm-hmm.
And
Pat's uncle.
Pat's uncle.
Okay.
And one night we're sitting there, and Bud had a nice backyard, and Grandin said, "You know, Bud, you should dig a swimming pool in the backyard." And Bud said, "What, are you crazy? I couldn't do that." He said, "Look, I'll help you. And Don here, he'll come over every night and help you. And we had another brother-in-law, Sam. Sam will come, and we'll dig that damn thing out, and we will dig a swimming pool in your backyard." Well, Mame, Pat's aunt, had a fit about that, but Bud finally said, "You know, that's not a bad idea. I think we could do that." So he said, "We'll start on Sunday." So lo and behold, on Sunday, we go over there, we get our shovels, we line this thing out in the backyard, and we start to dig.
You're digging with shovels.
Shovels.
You're going to dig an in-ground pool.
An in-ground pool with shovels. We're going to dig the thing out.
Okay.
Well, what happened was the night before we started to dig, Grandin got a phone call. And he said, "I got to go out of town for a few days." But he said, "I'll be back to help with this thing." So on Sunday we started to dig, and we had a trailer hooked onto the back of the cars. We'd fill it up with dirt. We took it down to a place on Irondequoit Bay, filled it in, and God, that first day we must have done about 5 or 6 trailers. But we just barely made a dent in the backyard, digging on the deep end, or on the shallow end, I mean. So we went over there again on Monday night, and God, we sweated and we dug some more, and we got a few more trailers full, and
But with just shovels.
Just shovels.
It's you, Sam, and Bud.
Yeah.
With like a shovel, a spade, digging into the ground.
That's right.
Digging an in-ground pool.
Then we put it in a wheelbarrow, and we wheel out to the front driveway, dump it into this trailer, take the trailer down to Irondequoit Bay. So we did that for maybe a week. In the meantime, Grandin's calling in, "Look, I'm going to be held up here for a few more days," but he said, "I'll be back. How's it going?" So we told him we made some progress. Well, that went on for maybe 2 weeks, and then we said, "Jesus, there's no way we're going to get this thing dug out." By that time, we had maybe made a hole maybe 4 feet deep on the shallow end and 6 or 7 feet wide. But, you know, it was pretty obvious we were going to have to work for months on this thing. So finally Bud said, "Well, look," I said, "I'm going to have to get a contractor in here, you know, to get this thing done." In the meantime, Aunt Mame is having a fit about the whole thing. So lo and behold, Bud gets a contractor, and they come in, they finally dig the whole thing out, and then they put in rebar.
Did they dig it out with shovels too?
No, with a backhoe.
They came in
with a backhoe.
So suddenly they come in with a backhoe. I can just imagine. I've dug those kind of things. Must have been super difficult.
It was impossible. Why the hell we ever got into it in the first place is beyond.
Once you get down a couple of feet, it's just like hard packed.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
they finally got it dug out. They put in back, I guess they still do it, so they put in gunite, and then they finished off the sides. And by this time, it's getting to be late July, maybe into August, and we're all kind of waiting in anticipation. So finally, one night, Bud calls. He says, "The pool is done. Come over tonight." So Pat and I go over there, and lo and behold, who comes back to town that very night? Grandin. And guess who's the first one in the pool? Uncle Grandin. He's the one who started the whole thing, got it all going, left town, never lifted a single shovel, but yet he's the first one back. He's into the pool. So that's a story about Bud's pool, and don't rely on your relatives too heavily.
Remember, what about the, it was a kind of a famous story where I was playing back by the tree and I had a rope tied to me. This was after the pool was in for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We would go over there, have dinner. Name and Bud had a nice picnic table out back they had a rose garden back there. And one night I was kind of playing, and for some reason I had a rope kind of tied around me that was also tied around. Now, is there a story to that too? Was I tied up like a dog or what?
Now, the story is that you were playing, and for some reason you wrapped that rope around you.
Yeah.
And you started to run around the edge of the pool, and the rope was No, it was too short. So all of a sudden you got jerked backwards into the swimming pool.
Yeah.
And you were probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old then. So my God, this was horrible. I finally jumped into the pool in all my clothes and almost broke my ankle because I jumped into the shallow end. But I lifted you up triumphantly above my head and said, he's going to be okay.
I still remember that. I mean, I remember they had a tree that was behind the pool. You guys must have done that. And around that tree was a metal
bench. Yeah,
that kind of fit around the tree. And for some reason, I had something tied to that. I think Mame or Bud came out saying, dinner's ready or dessert's here. And I took off running this way, in the backside of the pool, then down to the pool. But the rope was only 20 feet long, and boom, I just went straight into the pool. And I remember, I just splashed into the pool, but all of a sudden, here comes Dad, jumping into the pool like Superman, saving me when I didn't really think I needed to be saved. But I think everyone saw a young child being, kind of jerked into a pool.
Well, I think I might have had a martini or two by that time, but,
Well, thank you for saving my life.
It was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It was the right thing to do.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit here. There's a good New Year's Eve story about a country club somewhere near here.
Yeah, this is a funny story. We had a group of friends, and one of the guys in that group was an attorney in town and belonged to the very prestigious Genesee Valley Club. That's where all the high mucky-mucks in town belonged. Mm-hmm. So one year he said, why don't we go to the club, the Valley Club, for New Year's Eve? And we all said, that could be all right. He said, well, the girls have to wear long dresses, and the guys have to wear tuxes, but it's a very nice party, and you'll enjoy it. So we did that. We went, and it was very nice. And then we did that, I think, for the next either 2 or 3 New Year's Eves.
What was the Genesee Valley Club like?
Well, it was an old-fashioned sort of city club. Pretty expensive to belong to, but they had squash courts and I think they had an indoor tennis club. But it was like a dinner club and a luncheon club.
Wealthy people, wealthy-ish people belonged to it.
Exactly.
Upper crust Rochester, kind of fancy to go to.
Yeah.
The club.
It was very nice. I always envied the people who belonged there, but it was very nice. So as I said, we did that for 2 or 3 years. And then another friend of ours, we were together maybe, I don't know, in November or something. And this other friend of ours said, look, he says, I've just joined a country club out in Parrington. And it's quite nice. And they are having a big New Year's Eve party. So maybe if you guys are interested, we could go there for New Year's Eve this time instead of going to the Valley Club. So we said, okay, sounds good to us. So he said, we have to get our reservations in early because I think it's going to be really crowded. So we said, okay, make the reservation. So we made arrangements, and we didn't wear tuxes, but all the guys, of course, had suits on, and the girls had long dresses on. And we went for drinks at their house, first of all, and then we all got in our cars, and we drove out to the Parrington Country Club. As we drove in, we didn't see any cars there. So he said, well, I think there's a parking lot out in back. That's where they'll park. So we said, okay, we parked the car, and this time it was like, I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock. We walked in there. There was nobody there. There was a big buffet table set up. There was a band playing. There was nobody else in the room except us. So they got kind of embarrassed, so we sat down, and we thought, well, maybe we're a little bit early for New Year's Eve. So we went and we got some stuff we got some drinks and sat down, and pretty soon it was 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30, almost midnight. One other couple came in and sat way down at the other end of the room. There were only us, 4 couples, and one other couple that came to this big New Year's Eve party with the band and the big buffet table.
So it's sort of like a private New Year's Eve party.
That's the way it turned out to be. We said, yeah, we're sure glad we got our reservations in early, because if not, who knows what would happen. So the funny part of that story is that it was Skip Lawson and his wife Dodie. Dodie was a very proper person and wanted everything done just right. She always dressed immaculately, and when you went to her house, everything was just perfect. Well, she was absolutely humiliated that nobody else had come to this party. So for years after that, we talked to Dodie. Dodie, we're going to go to the Parenting Country Club for Christmas or for New Year's. It was really funnier than hell. Quite a unique experience.
Well, let me take a little side trip. You were telling a story the other day about when you were at Gannett, a little bit mixing of work story. You said some of the upper crust guys would go to the club for dinner.
Right. For lunch.
For lunch. I'm sorry, they would go to the club for lunch.
Yeah.
But you and your pals had sort of another club. Can you tell me that story?
Yeah. Well, down the street was a strip club that was named the Encore Club. It was like a block or two away from Gannett. So we got in the habit of saying, like, when all of our bosses were going to the Valley Club, or maybe the Oak Hill Country Club for lunch, we'd say, hey, do you want to go to the club for lunch? Okay. We'd all go down and watch the strippers for our lunch hour at the Encore Club. So they went to the country club, we went to our club, which is a strip club.
They would say, we'll see you later, we're going to go to the club.
We're going to the club.
And you guys, when they came back, you tell them, hey, we went to
the, I think they kind of envied us. They'd rather go to the strip club with us than go to the fancy schmancy golf club.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this podcast. We're going to come back with a few more here, but Don Anderson here with son Steve, the wild and exotic adventures of a wasp.
Great.
More to come.
We'll see you next time.